بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is chapter 5, verse 51. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tattakhizul yahuda wan nasara أولياء بعضهم أولياء بعض ومن يتولهم منكم فإنه منهم إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. O you who believe, make not the Jews and the Christians as your allies. They are each other's allies. And whoever among you takes them for guardians, he is indeed one of them. Surely Allah guides not the unjust people. Next verse is verse 53. وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَهَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ أَقْسَمُوا بِاللَّهِ جَهْدَ أَيْمَانِهِمْ إِنَّهُمْ لَمَعَكُمْ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فَأَصْبَحُوا خَاسِرِينَ. And those who believe will say, are these those who swore by Allah with their most forcible oaths that they were surely with you? Their deeds will bear no fruit, so they will be losers. And then verses 55 to 57. إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَإِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذُوا الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا دِينَكُمْ هُزُوًا وَلَعِبًا مِّنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ وَالْكُفَّارِ أَوْلِيَاءَ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِن كُنتُم مُّؤْمِنِينَ. Only Allah is your guardian and His messenger, and those who believe and those who keep up prayer and pay the poor rate, and they bow down. And whoever takes Allah and His messenger and those who believe for friend, surely the party of Allah shall triumph. O you who believe, do not make allies with those who take your religion as a mockery and a sport from among those who were given the book before you and the disbelievers. And keep your duty to Allah if you are believers. Sadaqallahul Aliyyul Azim. These verses are much objected to by people in the West, particularly the first one, because the word awliya is used. Awliya comes from wali, which means friend, which means ally, which means guardian, and so on. And many people translate this as, O you who believe, make not the Jews and Christians as your friends. They are each other's friends. But I have translated that as, don't take them as your allies. So let us, and people object to that look, Islam is discriminating between Muslims and non-Muslims. It's telling Muslims to be extremists. It's telling Muslims, do not be friendly with non-Muslims. But last week, I showed you that during the First World War, some Muslims allied with one Christian country, Britain. And these were Indian Muslims and Arab Muslims. And another group of Muslims, Turkish Muslims, allied with German Christians. And although many promises were made to Muslims that to the Arab Muslims that they'll be freed and they'll get their own country and God knows whatever else, after the war, these promises were not kept. And Palestine was kept by the British and the French under their own tutelage. And they then proceeded to create the state of Israel. But people say this is old history. Why do you keep repeating it? Well, one reason I keep repeating it is that you people keep going back to what happened 1500 years ago and say, oh, look, the Prophet Muhammad expelled Jews from Medina. And he expelled them from Medina because they were behaving in exactly the way that they are behaving now. But apart from that, let us leap further. If that is 1914 is too far back. In early 50s, Iranians elected as Prime Minister a gentleman called Dr. Mossadegh. There were free elections and so on. And Mossadegh was elected as the Prime Minister. Now you see the British and the Americans love democracy. Don't they? They love it. That's what they want. But unfortunately, Dr. Mossadegh wanted the Anglo-American oil company to pay his country a higher price for oil. And cheap oil was dearer to the Americans and the British than democracy or freedom. So they instigated riots, had Mossadegh overthrown and replaced by a government that bowed to the Americans and the British. Well, you might say, these things happen every now and then. What happened a few years later? Colonel Nasser, the president of Egypt, he wanted to increase the rent on the use of Suez Canal by the British and French-owned company because he wanted to develop his country. What happened? Suddenly a war broke out. And we are told all of Israel's wars are defensive. What was endangering Israel at the time? Mind you, what was endangering Israel when it was created, and how come it had an army when it didn't have a country? But anyway, let's lead to 1953. Suddenly Israel attacked Egypt, got as far as Suez Canal. And then the British and the French jumped in and they said, we must have peace. Because apart from democracy, you know that they love peace. There's nothing more that they love than peace. Not even democracy, perhaps. So they said, we'll have peace. Israel has come into Egyptian territory all the way up to the Suez Canal. Now what's going to happen is, Egyptians are going to retreat another 10 miles from the Suez Canal, and Israelis are going to retreat another 10 miles from Suez Canal to create a buffer zone, and we'll go in and we'll rule that buffer zone and we'll rule Suez Canal. And we'll give Egyptians whatever we want. And when Muslims cried that this was a conspiracy, the British Prime Minister, Anthony Eden, laughed and said, Muslims are always coming up with these conspiracy theories. When I was at university, We invited a gentleman called Anthony Nutting to come and give a speech. He was the junior minister at the Foreign Office. And he came. And he said he was so disgusted. He was so disgusted by the lack of any morality in the British, Israeli, and the French foreign policy that he resigned. He didn't want anything to do with it, and it was collusion between the French and the British. They said to Israel, attack Egypt. And then there were the U-2 flights. Some of you might have seen the film that Hollywood made about the pilot, Gary something his name was, from Peshawar in Pakistan. These were American planes that flew over Russian territory, photographing Russian nuclear installations. Where were they flying from? Pakistan. So if Russians got upset, who were they going to bomb? Was it Washington, D.C.? Was it London? No, it was Peshawar. So you made friends with these people and put your own country and your own nation in danger. And what did you get in return? Nothing. In 1965, when there was a war between India and Pakistan, Pakistan was an American ally. There were alliances called CENTO and CETO. Pakistan was a member of them, Britain was a member of them, America was a member of them, and Turkey and Iran and other countries were members. When this war broke out between India and Pakistan, what was the first thing that the Americans did? Yes. What was the first thing they did to their Muslim allies? Remember the first verse I read out? O you believe, O you who believe, do not make Jews and Christians your allies. You know what these allies, these people, these Jews and Christians we had made allies, what they did? They stopped all arms shipments to Pakistan. In fact, it was Iran who handed over the whole of its air force to Pakistan, and Indonesia who handed over the whole of its navy to Pakistan. So the Jews and the Christians whom we made our allies, who put our lives in danger by these U-2 flights from Peshawar, when we needed them, what did they say?
No.
I won't, this is Juma Khutbah, but the first word begins with P and the second word begins with O. And people say, Quran is such an extremist book. Look, it's telling you not to make friends with Jews and Christians. How awful. And then there was the Russian invasion of Pakistan, the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. And suddenly, Muslims were, what were they? Yes, America's darlings again. Who created Taliban? CIA and MI6. They brought them to UK. They brought Taliban to UK, where Israel supplied them with tanks they had captured from Egypt. And they were trained on those tanks and then sent back to fight the Russians. Muslims were suddenly lovely. They weren't extremists at all. They weren't horrible people. Why? The reason was obvious. Because it was the Muslims who were dying. Hollywood even made movies about the brave and the great Taliban, honorable Taliban, who were fighting for freedom and democracy in their country. They love these words, freedom and democracy. And then, of course, Russia was defeated and left Afghanistan. And guess what happened? Americans having trained a whole generation in nothing apart from killing, said, bye, we're off. And went back to America. And then the CIA created Taliban and other terrorist organizations, turned against America. And 9/11 happened. And Muslims, which had been forgotten, Pakistan, which had been forgotten and left to deal with these things on its own, was suddenly the darling of White House again, the darling of Downing Street again. Suddenly they were being invited for lunches and dinners and God knows what else. There are people here who are waving their arms about, so I will stop with these examples. Are they enough, or do you want some more? It's an endless list. This is what the Holy Quran is warning Muslims about. Don't make them your allies. What is happening in Palestine today is a punishment for Muslims for disobeying God, for depending on others. God says, who should be your allies? It tells you, make Allah your friend. Only Allah is your friend and His messenger and those who believe. And those who believe. Well, you neglected that warning of the Holy Quran. So why are you crying today? Whenever a new leader is elected or appointed or takes the throne in a Muslim country, which way does his plane head? Does it go to Makkah for pilgrimage? Does he go to Medina to pray at the Prophet's mosque? No. There is a much higher authority that Muslims must bow and scrape to, called the White House. It won't surprise me if the Muslim heads of state get the ulama to declare that Hajj should be performed around the White House now and not around the Kaaba. It is so holy for them. It was only this organization it was the Lahore Ahmadiyya movement that suggested Muslims should unite. The Prime Minister of Malaysia, Tunku Abdul Rahman, he was in the UK one year and he went to the Working Muslim Mission, which we ran from the Working Mosque at the time. And our Imam drew his attention to this and said, just like there is a United Nations, there should be a United Assembly of all Muslim countries. And to his credit, Tunku Abdul Rahman thought that was a wonderful idea. And so the Organization of Islamic Countries was created. But it's a toothless tiger. It's worse than United Nations. It doesn't do anything. Well, I'm wrong. That's where I said it doesn't do anything. It does do something. Whenever there's a genocide of Muslims in some country, what does it do? It immediately passes a resolution. Immediately. They don't hang about. They don't take days, they don't take weeks like a UN. They immediately pass a resolution condemning the killings. Like they did with Palestine. And that achieves a lot, doesn't it? This immediate resolution that That is all they do. That is all they can do. Because violating God's command, they have made non-Muslims their allies, and they depend on them and not on them. I end with the first people were waving their arms, now they're waving my fists at you, at me. So I will end by giving you this example that there was fighting going on between Hazrat Amir Muawiyah Radhiyallahu Ta'ala and Hazrat Ali Radhiyallahu Ta'ala. And the Byzantine emperor sent a message to Amir Muawiyah saying, let's form an alliance and defeat Ali. And then you and I, we will share Ali's territory between us. And you know what Hazrat Amir Muawiyah said? If you look at Ali, if you just look at Ali with a bad intention, what you will see is Muawiyah fighting against you as the humblest soldier in Ali's army. There is no great magical formula for success. That is it. But it's a hard thing to do. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareemun malikun barrun rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara deena Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ja'alna minhum. واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله ان الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Ready?
Yes.
Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, qad qamatis salah, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahu akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida.
ربنا لك
Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Qul a'udzu birabbin nas malikin nas ilahin nas min syarril waswasil khannas alladzi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas minal jinnati wan nas. Allahu akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida.
ربنا لك
Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar. Allahu akbar. Mashallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Astaghfirullah. Kullu dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. Allahumma Rabbana. Thank you for joining us for this Friday service. We are glad that peace has been declared in Palestine, because our brothers and sisters, particularly those in Gaza, were suffering terribly with shortage of food and medicines and so on and so forth. Please do keep praying for the whole of the Ummah, for the whole of humanity really, that Allah may make them see sense, that we should be living together as friends and brothers and not fighting each other. But especially Muslims, that they present an example to others of living together peacefully, harmoniously, while protecting the holy places, places of worship of all religions, because that is what Islam came into being to do. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.